What would you do if a single phone call unraveled your life in ways you never imagined? In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, where picket fences and manicured lawns whispered of safety, a storm was brewing. It started with a woman named Karen, a name that carried a weight of its own, and a call to 911 that would shatter the fragile peace of our neighborhood. This is the story of how a misunderstanding spiraled into chaos, how prejudice clashed with truth, and how the consequences left us all broken. My wife, Amara, had just returned from a month-long trip to Israel. Her work with the federal government kept her away often, but this time, the exhaustion in her eyes was heavier. She led a covert unit in the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, a role she kept under wraps, even from me at times. Her job wasn't just a desk. It was a battlefield of strategy, danger, and secrecy. When she stepped off the plane, her dark hair pulled back tightly, her olive skin kissed by the Middle Eastern sun, she looked like a warrior returning from a war no one could see. I greeted her at the airport with our daughter, Lila, who clung to her mother's leg, unaware of the weight Amara carried. We settled back into our routine, or so I thought. Maplewood was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone's business, but no one asked too many questions. That is, until Karen moved in across the street. Karen was a woman of sharp edges, blonde bob, always in yoga pants, with a smile that never reached her eyes. She was the neighborhood's self-appointed watchdog, her phone always ready to dial if a leaf fell out of place. I'd seen her eyeing Amara's comings and goings before, but I chalked it up to curiosity. I was wrong. It was a humid Tuesday evening when the first spark ignited. Amara was in our garage, unpacking a crate of equipment she'd brought back gear for her next operation. Though to anyone else, it looked like a jumble of metal and wires. Lila was playing in the driveway, her laughter cutting through the sticky air. I was inside, cooking dinner, when I heard the screech of tires. Karen's SUV pulled up, and she stormed out, her face flushed with righteous fury. "Excuse me," she shouted, her voice piercing. "What is she doing with all that stuff? It looks dangerous." She pointed at Amara, who barely looked up from the crate. Lila froze, clutching her soccer ball. "Karen, it's just work equipment," I called from the porch, trying to keep things light. "Amara's got it under control." Karen's eyes narrowed. "Work equipment? She just got back from Israel. I saw her at the airport, looking all secretive. I'm not stupid. This is a safe neighborhood, and I'm not letting that happen here." Amara stood, wiping her hands on her jeans. "Karen, I don't know what you're implying, but I'm tired. Can we not do this?" Karen didn't back down. "I'm calling the police. This doesn't look right." Before I could stop her, she was on her phone, her voice rising as she spoke to the 911 operator. "There's a woman with suspicious equipment in her garage. She just came back from the Middle East. I think she's planning something." My heart sank. Amara's face hardened, but she said nothing. She didn't need to. I knew what was coming. The police arrived within minutes, 2 officers stepping out of their cruiser with cautious eyes. Karen stood on her lawn, arms crossed, triumphant. I tried to explain, but Amara raised a hand to silence me. She approached the officers, her badge already in hand. "Agent Amara Cohen, ATF. This is my home. That's my equipment. Call my supervisor if you need confirmation." The officers exchanged glances, then nodded. One took her badge, made a quick call, and within minutes they were apologizing. Karen's face fell, her confidence crumbling. "You're TF?" she stammered. "But you were in Israel. I thought." "You thought what?" Amara's voice was low, dangerous. "That I'm a threat because of where I've been? Because of how I look?" Karen opened her mouth, then closed it. The officers left, and Karen slunk back to her house. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong again. The next morning, a man named Marcus showed up at our door. He was Karen's brother, a wiry guy with a nervous smile and a military haircut. He claimed he was just checking in after Karen's misunderstanding. But there was something off about him. His questions were too pointed, his eyes too sharp. He asked about Amara's work, her trips, even her heritage. I brushed it off, but Amara didn't. She'd seen men like Marcus before, men who hid their intentions behind polite words. That night, Amara sat me down. "Karen's not just a nosy neighbor," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "She's been digging into my records. Marcus, too. I had my team run a check. He's ex-military, discharged for misconduct. They're not just suspicious, they're planning something." I felt a chill. Planning what? Amara didn't answer. Instead, she showed me a file photos of Karen and Marcus at a local gun range, emails they'd sent to fringe groups about keeping the neighborhood safe. My stomach churned. This wasn't just prejudice. It was a vendetta. Over the next week, the tension escalated. Karen's SUV circled our street at odd hours. Marcus was seen near our house, taking photos. Amara didn't flinch. She was in her element, coordinating with her team, setting up surveillance. But I saw the toll it took her: sleepless nights, the way she held Lila a little tighter. Then came the twist I never saw coming. One evening, as Amara monitored her team's comms, a call came through from an unexpected source. Karen's teenage daughter, Sophie. She was 16, quiet, always in the background. Sophie had overheard her mother and uncle plotting to plant evidence in our garage, fake explosives to frame Amara. Sophie, torn between loyalty to her family and her conscience, had called Amara's secure line, her voice trembling. "I don't want anyone to get hurt," she whispered. "Please, do something." Amara acted fast. Her team intercepted Marcus that night as he tried to sneak into our garage. He was carrying a duffel bag filled with inert materials designed to look like bomb components. Karen was arrested the next morning, her face pale as she was led away in cuffs. Sophie stood on their porch, tears streaming down her face, watching her mother's downfall. I thought we'd won. I thought justice had prevailed. But the story wasn't over. Amara's team uncovered more. Karen and Marcus weren't acting alone. They were part of a larger network, a group fueled by fear and misinformation, targeting federal agents like Amara. The deeper her team dug, the more dangerous it became. Amara was pulled into a new operation, one that required her to go dark, leaving me and Lila behind again. She promised it would be quick, but the look in her eyes told me otherwise. Weeks turned into months. Lila asked for her mother every night, and I had no answers. Then, one gray morning, a black SUV pulled up to our house. An agent stepped out, his face grim. Amara's operation had gone wrong. A sting had turned into an ambush. She was gone. I stood in our kitchen, the world tilting beneath me. Lila's laughter was silent now, replaced by questions I couldn't answer. Karen was in prison, Marcus too, but their actions had set off a chain reaction that took Amara from us. Sophie came by once, leaving a Karen flower on our doorstep, a white bloom, fragile and fleeting, like the peace we'd lost. She didn't say a word, but her eyes carried an apology heavier than words could hold. The neighborhood moved on. New families filled the houses, and the picket fences stayed white. But for Lila and me, the world was dimmer. Amara's badge sits on our mantle, a reminder of her strength, her sacrifice. Karen's call to 911 had been the spark, but the fire it ignited burned us all. ND.